Christian Braun is signed. 5 years, $125 million deal for Christian Braun, the Kansas native. This is going to be quite the episode as we talk about the implications of Christian Braun's deal, just how good he was last season, and how can we perhaps make an estimate of just how much better he'll be this year. Also, Peyton Watson has not yet signed. Does this impact him at all? We're talking about all of that today here at Locked On Nuggets.
You are Locked On Nuggets, your daily Denver Nuggets podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's going on, y'all? Welcome to Locked On Nuggets. This is your daily Denver Nuggets podcast. I hope you're having a spectacular day. I hope your Tuesday is going to be great tomorrow as you spend time with Matt Moore and Ryan Blackburn. But today, we're going to talk about Christian Braun. This is going to be quite the episode as Christian Braun has finally inked a deal. Christian Braun, a draft pick for the Denver Nuggets in 2022, 21st overall out of Kansas. They get a super athletic, rangy wing that is a really good player in college, national champion in high school, national champion in college, and he steps into the NBA. He really acts as Denver's eighth man, helps them win an NBA title, and has ever since truly grown into an even better player since that point. He gets locked into a deal. Y'all, today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Head to FanDuel.com to get started. I hope you're having a great day. So Christian Braun, he signed his deal. The money that he has got in totality from Shams is the Denver Nuggets guard Christian Braun has agreed to a 5-year, $125 million rookie contract extension with the franchise agent Bill Duffy of WME Basketball Tells ESPN. So he is getting a 5-year deal for $125 million. There were reports that this deal for Christian Braun was going to range anywhere between about $115 to $125 million. And if you kind of look at just the overall details of the deal that haven't come out, it really, percentage-wise, it doesn't seem that crazy. And I think I want to put in context just kind of how this deal is going to get shaped out, because I think this is going to impact kind of how some of you all are looking at the deal. And so, when you look at Christian Braun, this is somebody obviously that has grown across the board into being a really valuable player for this team. If you look at the way that he's developed his game offensively, defensively, he's basically become like a really, really good add-on for this team on both ends. He does a lot of really good things on the basketball end, from just navigating screening roles as a two-guard, from being able to cover other guards, even be able to switch on the wings at times. And then offensively, shout out to my dog, Brett Usher. He actually gathered these numbers. I did this on the little video I did earlier. But 15.4 points a game, y'all. 66.5 true shooting. That was fourth best in the league among those scorers. He was fourth in transition points in total. He was first in transition points per possession, minimum 150 possessions. And again, on 2.8 attempts from three, I believe, he shot 39.7% from three. And if you look at his numbers, man, like, that's a really good NBA player. That's a really good NBA player. You get I'm looking at NBA Ramp. It's like this data site that helps you to put together just exactly like what players do where they rank overall. And if you look at his numbers, he was an 81st percentile scorer at 15 points per game. He was, in terms of just like what he did overall, 5.2 rebounds. That's really good, especially for a guard. That's the 95th percentile for a guard. And then you look at the steals, 1.1 steals for a guard, 76th percentile. But again, in terms of the efficiency, 66.7, 66.6% true shooting. That's 100 percentile for a guard. And this is somebody that impacted the court in a really positive way. He was a plus 9.1 on the floor last year, a plus 14.4 net rating. The Denver Nuggets were better with him on the floor. He was one of the better role players in the league. He shot 39% from three last year. The thing that is going to change this year, hopefully, is going to be the volume. But if you just look at the overall package for Christian Braun and what he offers as a basketball player, you just are not going to find players like this around the league. Now, Christian one of the things that he needs to continue to get better at, obviously, is like a lot of the mid-range shooting. Some of that stuff he is not good at yet. He's still really working and developing on trying to figure out a lot of the stuff in his game. But one thing I do appreciate about Christian that I think does need to be taken into context and noted is that in this season so far, just the preseason, we've already seen like some real improvements from Christian Braun as a basketball player. And I think for the Nuggets in particular, his ability to be able to create for himself and others is going to be really important. So far in preseason, you all, again, it's preseason, just 4 games. He's playing 22 minutes a game. He was averaging 11 points a game on just 22 minutes a game. He was shooting 77% from the field. He was shooting 77.8% from 3 on just 2.3 attempts, shooting only 50% from the free throw line. But if you look at the numbers, 2.5 assists, and again, in 22 minutes, like they're also trying to help him, just as they're trying to help Peyton Watson, to develop their game offensively, especially as ball handlers. So far in the preseason, you all, the Nuggets have a 131.7 offensive rating with him on the floor, 110.7 defensive rating with a plus 21 net rating. What I like to see is that what's happening is that as he continues to figure out his game, he's reshaping his game to be best fitted, not just around the starters in Jokic and Murray, but how do I become a more impactful player overall for this team? How can I bear more responsibility as a creator? How can I bear more responsibility as an offensive player when they're not in the game and I get to create shots for myself or others? And if you go back and watch some of those games, Christian is navigating the pick and roll better than he did last year by far, because there were multiple possessions where that dude had a pick and roll with Nikola Jokic, and he was able to come off that pick and roll, use his athleticism to get down towards the rim and be able to dump it off to Jokic as a passer. And then when he was spotted up as a corner shooter this year, he also was able to hit those shots so far in the preseason. And for me, man, I'm just really curious to see how he continues to utilize all of those great skill sets that he has as a pull-up shooter, as a jump shooter, and how he just continues to just make things happen and make things work overall for this team. And I'm really excited to see how he continues to grow in his confidence, because one of the things that, usually happens for a player, especially when they're in situations like this, is when they figure out like that the team around them supports them, the front office supports them, the coaches support them. And this is very similar to Shaedon Sharpe, by the way, and Toumani Camara, which he got more money than both, basically $21 and $22 million a year for Toumani Camara and for Shaedon Sharpe. That draft, that whole, like, this new era of basketball players, they're all kind of like, there are a lot of really good players that are kind of coming out of that draft, the 2021 and the 2022 draft, soon to be 2023 draft, that are really good players. Because in this draft alone, you got Andrew Nembhard, who already signed a deal in that draft. And then I think if you look at the top of the draft, you got Chet Holmgren, Paolo Banchero, you got Benedict Mathurin, who's going to be in a really interesting situation this year. Shaedon Sharpe, Dyson Daniels also got $25 million a year today from the Atlanta Hawks on a 4-year deal. You got J-Dub, who is an all-NBA player. That's a rookie Mac extension player. Jalen Duren is going to be up here soon. Torrey Eason, hopefully he's going to get a deal soon with the Houston Rockets. This is a really good draft class. Nikola Jokic already got an extension, and then Peyton Watson, who we'll talk about here in a little bit, he'll be one that we'll have to look at going forward in the future to get another deal. So $25 million for where he is, that's really not crazy. And I know a lot of Nuggets fans and, really trying to figure out just where he was going to land from a monetary standpoint. If the Nuggets were going to be able to save more, because we even had some reporting that his money is going to be anywhere between 27, 28, $30 million. And so I think it's important that the Nuggets this year were able to really get him at a discount on that deal. And so also, just for context, this was the highest true shooting season by a guard with 66.7, the highest true shooting season by a guard, averaging 15 or more points than Steph Curry. Now, the context of that is obviously they score in completely different ways, and Christian Braun scores in completely different ways than all of those players. That are kind of in that higher scoring ranges, because obviously he's a play finisher, works in transition, works off ball almost exclusively. But one thing that Jake Coyne, the StatQuash, said, in terms of percentage of the cap, this deal, that's a 5-year, $125 million a year deal. This puts Braun in a range a little above what Kevin Huerter is when it went into effect in 2022 and a little bit below DeAndre Hunter, which went into effect in 2023. And so on the other side, I'm going to actually go into some of those contracts and what those numbers look like just so you can get a reasonable expectation of how much money's actually being allocated in this deal, how much percentage of the cap, but also how Christian can make that deal look pretty good fairly soon. We'll talk about all that and more here at Locked On Nuggets. Peloton is shaping the future of fitness with brand new Peloton cross training Tread Plus powered by Peloton IQ. It's their most advanced equipment yet, designed to give you real-time guidance and endless ways to move, whether you're running, lifting, or cross training with your favorite instructors. Now, this is training reimagined, y'all. Peloton is built for breakthroughs with tools that help you to plan, stay motivated, and reach peak performance. Now, I love how Peloton IQ system offers real-time strength coaching. It actually tracks your reps, suggests the right weights, and corrects your form, making every rep safer and smarter. And I can tell y'all, somebody who works out every day, it is so important to have good and proper technique with what you're doing. And the personalized class recommendations, they keep you engaged. You get workouts tailored to your vibe and energy level each week. So let yourself run, lift, flex, and push forward. Explore the new Peloton cross-training Tread Plus today at onepeloton.com. We'll be back here for segment 2 on Locked On Nuggets. What's going on, y'all? We are back here for segment 2 of Locked On Nuggets. This is your team every day. This is Swiper. Y'all, make sure you like, share, and subscribe. I'm believing we will be at 15,000 subscribers by the end of this upcoming season. Please, half of you that are watching this video are not subscribed. Make sure, take a breath. Like, share, and subscribe to the video. If you're listening to this on the audio side and you said you want to hear more of those great, majestic voices of Matt Moore and Ryan Blackburn, make sure you give us a 5-star review. That way more and more people can listen to the great content being made here at Locked On Nuggets. So, context of the deal. So if you look at the Denver Nuggets and their salary cap sheet, so when this number goes into effect, right now, if you look at Spot Track, they have the estimated amount is going to be at about a 12.98% percentage hit of the cap. So Nikola Jokic is making $59 million next year. That's a 34.7%. That's a super max deal. Jamal Murray making $50 million. That's 30%. Aaron Gordon, 31%. So then he's going to be making $31.9 million. That's 19%. Cameron Johnson making $23 million. That's 13%. Then Christian Braun, he's going to be around that number of like 13, 14-ish% of the overall number for the team. And the reason that is important, you all, is I want y'all to understand that, like, from a contractual standpoint, that's actually like not crazy at all. Like DeAndre Hunter, by the time you get to the 2026-27 season, can be making $24 million a year. That's 14% of the cap. Like, that's nothing. Like, that's not anything insane. That's not anything that's going to really like put your team in a very difficult situation, especially if these players are continuing to grow and improve. Now, obviously, that is going to be the thing that you have to get out of these players. Like, they got to continue to move forward as basketball players to get better, just to be able to play smarter, to play within rhythm, and really to fit the overall style of the team. But if you just look at the numbers, like, in what they're doing for this roster, like, I think the Nuggets are taking a estimated gamble. Now, what's going to really be the question is Jonas Valanciunas, because Jonas Valanciunas, just for context, he's going to be up for a team option about $10 million, a team option for $10 million. That number is going to be one they have to make a real determination on, because they're going to be a second-rate team. But the question then becomes, like, where are they going to be? How are they going to be able to utilize the cap space they have and the money they have? So Jonas Valanciunas has a $10 million team option that they can rescind or pick up, depending on how he plays, depending on what they want to do financially this next season. Zeke Naji is the one, because Zeke Naji, by the time these extensions start, he'll be making $7.46 million in the 2026-27 year when Christian Braun's deal starts. So Zeke Naji this year is in the second year of a $32 million contract. He's making $8.1 this year. That, for me, is the contract that actually has to get off the books, because even if Zeke is a really good player, even if he's a really good player, he obviously earns the deal. Even if Zeke is like a player that you can utilize at times, unless Zeke becomes a guaranteed rotation player that he is so good, which to his credit, versus OKC, he generated 5 steals himself. He played really good defense on SGA and on others. He operated in the lanes really well. He did things that are well. If he continues to grow, then yeah, you could have that deal on your books. But Peyton Watson still hasn't gotten a deal. Peyton Watson is unsigned. He might be headed to unrestricted free agency this next year unless they get a deal done here in the very near future, which means today or so. But the question is going to become, what do you do about Cam Johnson? I believe he's going to get resigned. So he'll be about $25 million. Then you have Aaron Gordon, 30, Jamal Murray at 50, and then you have Nikola Jokic at 59. But y'all, here's the thing. This is just the way of the league now. And I think the thing that a lot of teams they're having to wrestle with is there's no real way for you to be competitive and to not spend a lot of money on your roster. There just isn't. Because the issue is, it's like if you're going to be competitive and you're going to have good players in your roster, then you have to pay those players. And now because the NBA has almost like decentivized drafting well, because now when you draft well, you have the bird rights, you can allocate more of your money towards these players. But if you got 3 really, really good high-end young players on your roster like OKC, then you're going to have to pay. And you're going to have to pay big for those players. So that puts you in a conundrum because at that juncture, you have to make a decision about, are we going to keep the core intact? But then if we keep the core intact, how do we build around these players? And so the Nuggets, they, in real time, as you saw this summer, they've had to rethink their positioning on how we're paying players, who's on the roster, and how much those players are getting. Because Michael Porter Jr., for instance, like I said, he was making $17 million more than Cam Johnson. That obviously is why, the primary reason why he had to get moved, other than, in the playoffs, he would slip up and the level of play would just ebb and flow. But you just can't allocate that much money now. But the issue is that when you have a team that has a good of a starting 5 as the Denver Nuggets, it's like, well, you can't let them go because not only do you not have a replacement in-house, but why would you mess up your own synergy? So this is where I'm really kind of not glad and not happy just about where the NBA has taken things with the CBA, just because it just doesn't put you in a good situation to have to make healthy decisions with your roster that benefit the entirety of the team. Again, when the CBA was put in place, Matt Moore likes to talk about a lot. Matt has said that one of the reasons the CBA went in place the way it did is because they just didn't want to play. They didn't want to play. They didn't want to pay these players like some of them are estimating that they would, or they would say that they would. And so what they did then is they put a structure in place that basically gave them a reason and an excuse to not have to pay these players. But then on the other side of it now, it's like, okay, well, how do we rectify the situation and pay our players and our guards? Also, I want to share this from Todd Whitehead. He makes these great graphics on Twitter just so people can kind of get an idea of what everybody does. But if you look at Dyson Daniels, he got 4-year, $100 million, that's $25 a year. Christian Braun, 5-year, $125 million, that's $25 a year. Tamani Kamara, he got 4 years, $82, which is a really, really good deal. That's about 20 and a half. And then if you look at Sacramento Kings for Keegan Murray, he got a 5-year, $140. He got paid more than everybody out of this list. But one of the things is that he's noting here is that these players are 4 of the most commonly used primary defenders in the NBA, and they all have thousands and 2,000 more possessions or more guarding the primary option for the other team. Christian Braun has over 2,000. Dyson Daniel has over 2,000 of those possessions. Tamani Kamara has 1,900, and Jaden has 1,900. So again, like, this is also premium. When you get a really good athlete and you get a really good defender and players that can grow in the really good defenders that have these leverage responsibilities that take up a lot of your defensive responsibilities, and on the offensive end, they're shooting and contributing, then yeah, you got to pay these players, y'all. Like $25 million a year for Christian. I know for some of you it feels like it's a lot. But again, by the time you get to 2026-27, when the deal kicks in, just remember, that's going to be approximately about 14% of the cap. It's going to be anywhere between, however the deal is structured, it's going to be anywhere between 13% to 14.5%, 15% of the cap, which for a player of that caliber who is like, what if he's the fourth best Nugget, by the start of next year? What if he's in conversation for the third best Nugget by the start of next year? So then now what happens is you're paying somebody 15% of the cap to be one of the 3 or 4 most high contributing players on your team. Like, this is just the way the league works. And honestly, the money for both sides is really good. But on the other side, we're going to set some expectation for Christian Braun. What should be some things that we see from him in this year? And Peyton Watson, what is his deal potentially going to look like as well? We'll talk about all that and more here at Locked On Nuggets. Y'all, the NFL season is here, and FanDuel has an offer you don't want to miss. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. You pick a bet, put down $5, and if it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Now, I love FanDuel, y'all. I told y'all Thursdays, Sunday mornings, I put that in my prop together. I put it in my parlay together. I like doing same-game parlays. I'm not going to lie. I've been cooking on Denver Bronco games as of late. I won another 2 slips yesterday as well. So I love how they give me options to build parlays, try player props, live game stuff, and even, especially, y'all, tonight, 2 really good games. But, y'all, we got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers versus Detroit Lions. Definitely eye something there. So whether you're a casual fan or you love diving into the stats, FanDuel makes the game day experience so much better. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app today and get started. Also, y'all, most people can't name all their financial accounts or even what they're worth, whether it's 401ks, properties, or investments. And when you don't have the full picture, you could end up leaving money on the table. That's why there is Monarch Money. It's an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or your phone. Monarch is built for people with busy lives. If you put off organizing your finances, Monarch is for you. Monarch does the heavy lifting for you. You can link all of your accounts in minutes, see clear data visuals, get smart categorization of your spending, and finally feel in control of your money. Whether you without ever touching a spreadsheet, which I love. I don't actually want to put a spreadsheet together, so this really helps me. And you can identify a lot of things. I'm telling y'all right now, I told y'all, and I'll continue to say this, why I use Monarch Money to this day. I did not realize how much I was paying for my news subscriptions. So whether it's the New York Times, it's the AP, it's Reuters, Washington Post, The Hill, whatever it is, you don't realize sometimes that you might, just to read, you might be paying over $100 a month to read and learn. So they saved me so much money when I didn't realize how much money I was spending. So don't let financial opportunities slip through the cracks. Use code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with code LOCKEDONNBA. We'll be back for the final segment here at Locked On Nuggets. Y'all, we are back for the final segment here at Locked On Nuggets. Shout out to you while we're talking about Christian Braun, talking about the deal, talking about the Denver Nuggets. Y'all, I see not most people. Most people is cool. Most people is cool. But 14% of the cap is cool, y'all. Like, that's just about where it's going to be. That's not crazy for a player in this role. It's just not. If you could have got him at 21, 22, you could have, but 25. And especially, like I said, given the projection that he's already set for himself, you could be on pace for a special year. Because here's the thing. I'll tell y'all this right now. Christian Braun already basically doubled his production last year. Okay, he's already shown that he can scale up. What if Christian this year is at 16 points a game? What if Christian this year is at 5 rebounds again? What if he's at 3 assists this year? What if Christian maintains his 3-point percentage at 39.7, maybe even increases it, and increases his 3-point output to 4 to 5 attempts a game? Now, here's the thing. Christian, so far in the preseason, he's taking 2.3, but if you just look at the minute distribution, like I said, 22 minutes a game, he's going to be getting high 20s, low 30s this year. One of the things that Christian can really do that's going to help and aid him is being in a situation where he has people around him that are allowing for him to play off the ball. He can create contact going towards the rim, but also let it fly. Because the same thing that I said that Peyton Watson needs to do is the same thing I think Christian needs to do. You have to start taking more pull-up threes as a three-point shooter and change the way defenses are attacking you. Because if you increase your three-point rate and maintain your three-point efficiency, functionally, the way defenses are now guarding you, they're saying, all right, look, what are the things we absolutely don't want to give up when the Denver Nuggets are playing us? A Jokic floater, a Jokic post-up, a Jokic open three-pointer. Okay, a Jamal Murray pull-up, a Jamal Murray step back, a Jamal Murray drive around the rim. Okay, those are probably the 6 possessions you don't want them using. Then you got Aaron Gordon dunker spot, Aaron Gordon corner threes, and then Aaron Gordon post touch, which if you have to allow it, you allow that. And then Cam Johnson, you absolutely don't want him to be an open spot up three-point shooter because he's been one of the best in the league for several seasons now. So for Christian, he's like still on what is the best option defensively for us to allow. That way we can mitigate the amount of space Jokic, Murray, and Gordon have on this three-man game inside of the basket or going to the basket. Or if it's not going to be AG, then it's going to be Cam Johnson or it's going to be Peyton Watson. Like, how do we mitigate the three-man game? Because the core of the two-man game is the versatility of Jokic and Murray. But the reason why it's so potent is because Jokic and Murray can make all of the passes out of the set. So now we have to then be able to cheat off of Christian, maybe cheat off of Cam, which they did this last couple of games as well, because you got to like be able to condense space. Christian is going to have to be able to put the defense in a position to make them pay every single time they leave him open. And it's just the threat of the shot. You got to hit him at a high enough clip, but what you got to do is you got to increase the rate that you're taking those shots. That way it functionally changes the odds for how the defense is going to play this, because now they're playing a probability game. Okay, if we allow Christian Braun to have 4 open three-pointers and he's shooting 43, 44% of open threes this year, okay, well, we just can't do that because that's going to kill us. And one of the stretches in particular is going to be in the clutch, because Christian had hit some really big threes. He's hit some really big threes for Denver. He hit some really big threes in the playoffs last year for Denver. And if you look at this year, like, for instance, I'm even looking now on Synergy. You know, if you look at some of the threes that he got this year, you know, Jokic and Murray are operating out of this high roll. Jokic, you know, Murray setting a back screen for Aaron Gordon, and Aaron Gordon slips to the basket. They stay, but then when they stay with AG, the person that's guarding Christian Braun is James Harden, and James Harden is all the way inside of the paint, and Christian Braun is staying at the top of the key. You know, he's in the right wing. So in this instance, they're basically saying that, like, look, Christian, we're going to give you these shots. You're going to be able to take these shots wide open. And Kawhi, like, cheats up a little bit, but it's like a late help. And then he rotates up, and then Cam Johnson's on the other side. The Nuggets are going to be so positioned this year offensively that now they're going to be able to really leverage Cam, Tim Hardaway Jr., Jamal Murray, Aaron Gordon, and Julian Strawther. They're going to be able to leverage their three-point shooters and reputational three-point shooters by diversifying where they are on the court, because that alone is going to change up the amount of space Jokic and Murray have. And the threat of those three-point shooters is going to open up the backdoor screens and the end cuts for people that are diving towards the rim, and especially in a playoff setting. But now the question becomes, if Christian Braun can elevate his game enough offensively, especially as a jump shooter, where now it becomes like, you know, Derek White wasn't always a really good three-point shooter, but Derek White improved his jump shot to the point where now, like, you just can't leave him open. And honestly, in the clutch is like when you're most afraid of Derek White, because Derek White became one of the best clutch shooters in the league as well. So I think for Christian, it has to become a point where, like, it is damaging, significantly damaging, more often than not, to leave him wide open on those three-point shots, or to leave him, period, because you're having to make a decision about where you're going to be on the floor. And that's going to be his next step in development offensively, as well as, like I said, the pick-and-roll navigation stuff that he does and everything else. And just for context, what I'm saying about Derek White, before Derek White got to Boston, so when you do from 2022 to 18, you know, Derek was he was a good three-point shooter. Wasn't anything crazy. I mean, the year before, he was 30%, 31%, 31%, 34%, 36%, but like I said, on 2.6 attempts a game. But eventually, Derek, when he gets to Boston, he becomes a 38% three-point shooter, 2.5 attempts a game, 39% three-point shooter, and 38% three-point shooter. And what happened is when he went to the playoffs, Derek shot really well, 45% from 3 and 23 on 5 attempts a game, 40% on 8.5 attempts a game, and then 38.5% last year on 9.5 attempts a game. This should be like kind of a marker for Christian Braun. Like, that's where this needs to go. He needs to be able to move into that kind of stratosphere as a three-point volume shooter. It doesn't have to be 8, 9 overnight. But what happens is, and again, you got to remember, they're shooting 54% of their shots with the Celtics from 3. So it doesn't need to be that. But if it can get to 6 and you're shooting well, like I said, functionally changes up what's happening on the floor. So again, on-ball development, three-point development. And then lastly, Peyton Watson. I don't know if Peyton Watson's going to get a deal done. I will check last minute here. I do not know if he's going to get a deal done here soon. But Peyton, I think, will be next up with this team. But like I said, if I'm Peyton Watson, I'm going to take this season and just try to continue to move forward and develop the overall place of where my game is. Because I think Peyton Watson, y'all, he might be eligible for about $11 million today, but Peyton could be eligible for about 20 when it comes to next season. Y'all, let us know in the comment section. So after listening to the episode, what do you think? Do you think Christian Braun's money at about 14, 15% of the cap? Do you feel like that's a good place? What would you like to see from Christian Braun moving forward to really justify this number? And how good do you think he'll be this year for the Denver Nuggets? Y'all know what time it is. This is Swiper. See ya on the other side.